Black Mental Health Panel. And this is so very important with what's going on in the world today and what has happened in the last 2 years. I'm going to introduce our panel one by one, and then we'll ask them a question. I will start with Dr. LaTasha Russell Harris. She is the president of the Association of Black Psychologists at South Florida chapter. She's also a relationship coach for professional athletes and their significant others. Her recent book, It Ain't the Dishes, is a workbook for couples who need to learn how to argue more productively. She also has a live talk show every first Wednesday with a stand-up comedian at the Dania Beach Improv. And Dr. Tasha specializes in getting to the core of an issue quickly, which she calls drive-by therapy. Looking forward to seeing Dr. Tasha in just a little bit. Also, Antwon Lindsey, born and raised in Liberty City, and as a child was always fascinated with the natural world and creative arts. He was encouraged to write and read by his mother, with whom he'd often spend time writing stories and remixing the lyrics to their favorite songs. And many people refer to Antwon as an author, filmmaker, visionary, and even an inspiration at times. Mr. Ruban Roberts is CEO and founder of RER Consulting Enterprise, a strategic planning, evaluation management, program development, and training firm. He has just contributed his time and resources to many governmental and nonprofit organizations. He also is the immediate past president of the Miami-Dade branch of the NAACP and is an appointee to several boards and work groups. Mr. Roberts' lifelong interest in helping youth and families in underserved communities has culminated in a career in advocacy and community services spanning more than 25 years. And last but not least, Matthew A. Pigatt is the founder of the annual South Florida HBCU Picnic and the founder of the Sankofa Cipher, an Africana history, culture, and thought group. He chairs the premier mentoring program for boys in South Florida, the 100 Black Men of South Florida Leadership Academy, the same program that saved his life as a child. So happy to have all of you. I'm gonna try to be professional with all of y'all because I know at least 3 of y'all personally. So I'm gonna, and I'm looking forward to talking more with Mr. Lindsey to meet him. But the other 3 I know, so I'm gonna just try to definitely make it a little bit more professional. So Dr. Tasha, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. Hello, Miss Tamara G. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Before we get to you guys, we're going to watch a trailer for the documentary Hush, and then we'll have some questions for you. So let's check out the trailer.
And so now here you have it, where if I am silent, then I can't be free. And if I can't be free, then what freedom do I have to pass on to you?
It's not really talked about when you're not feeling good. It's not really talked about when you have feelings.
Because Black folks didn't believe in going to a psychologist. They didn't believe in going to a psychiatrist.
We often hear things like, you need to pray it off. It ain't that bad. Back in my day, it was worse. How does that open the door for anyone to feel okay about talking about what they're going through?
Are people gonna think I'm crazy because I went and got mental health support? I ain't crazy, ain't nothing wrong with me.
We can't function without our brain. So it would be a good idea for us to learn how our brain works and our brain functions.
Once we have a better understanding of who we are, our triumphs, our pain, our struggles, the next step would be for us to be able to resolve that hurt, to resolve that pain.
When we talk about healing, healing is a journey. There's no destination to the healing process.
Mental health is actually contributing to our overall wellness. It's not a deficiency.
We abuse our children because we have been abused. We abuse our partners because we have been abused. Not realizing that there is some trauma that rests deep within our spirit, that is there unconsciously because we don't have the consciousness, because we don't have the spirit and silence to be still, because we're not nurtured. And so when we are not nurtured, then the broken beget the broken, and it becomes a perpetual and consistent cycle.
Wow, thank you very much for that trailer. Let's start with Antwon, because it really was powerful. And why did you decide that this was an important documentary to make? And very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And thank you everybody for showing up today. This documentary is me. I tell people all the time that I made this documentary for myself. And it's essentially my life experiences and the questions that I had about, what was going on with me and things dealing with my mental health and just overall well-being. And I figured it was important to make this documentary because last year I had an opportunity to do my doctorate, right? My doctorate in higher education. And the day before doing my interview, I canceled the interview because I knew that I had to do this documentary because it was going to change so many lives. And so I devoted all my time and energy and effort towards doing a documentary so that way I can be able to change lives through this film.
That's good. Let's ask Ruben about this question. Ruben, good to see you. And I know that you have been working in the community for many, many years now. We said 25, it's probably been way more than that. But can you talk to us about generational trauma and how that's manifesting in our lives and communities, and why Antwon, would think that this would be a documentary that people would not only want to see, but need to see?
So thank you for that question. And Tamara, it's always a pleasure to see you. Generational trauma is real. What we're dealing with is trauma that is passed down from generation to generation. And for those of us who come from African-American background, whose was uprooted from their native land and brought to this country, and had to deal with over 400 years of slavery, oppression, and servitude, and that sort of thing. Those things are not normal in regular society. Whenever you have to think about your station in life, when you are treated as a second-class citizen, whenever you hear the word that, oh, he's the first person to accomplish this in a group, these are all traumatic experiences. When you see a population of people who are over-policed, who are disproportionately arrested, who are disproportionately living in a lower socioeconomic incomes, all of those are stressors, add to stressors, anxiety, and depression that we deal with. Whenever you see a young kid, give you a perfect example. Whenever you see a young kid that grew up in the inner city, and the way that they view the police officers versus the way a kid who came up in a more prominent neighborhood and the way that they view police officers, the way that they see violence, the way that they are exposed to violence on a daily basis. You can ask most young men the first time they've ever seen or heard someone get shot, and they'll tell you that happened at a very early age. So all of these things really have an impact on our mental psyche. And at the same time, we have been conditioned to really look at mental health diagnosis and services through a stigmatized lens. And so while you're dealing with this, these questions as to why am I experiencing these things? Why is this happening to me? Why is it happening to my family? We have a stigma about who we go to see to get help. As the man said in the video, I'm not crazy because I'm struggling with an issue right now and I need some help. And so hopefully tonight, we can talk about this a little bit more, try to reduce that stigma and make sure that everyone goes out and seek the proper help so that they can be on their path to wellness.
Thank you very much, Ruben. Well, you run right into my next question to Dr. Tasha, would be, what are some of those barriers and the stigmas that you've seen that people, aren't taking care of their mental health, or may be a barrier to them taking care of their mental health?
That's a great question. The first one that comes to mind is obviously, I don't want to talk to someone that doesn't look like me, right? And I understand that. But as I am the president of the Association of Black Psychologists, there are a lot of us out here. There's social workers, there's life coaches, there are LMHCs, which are licensed mental health counselors. Like, we look like you. And so when that was a stigma, which makes sense, why would you ever talk to someone who does not understand the struggle initially? It's like, all right, now what's your excuse? So there are male, Black, female, there are Black male, there's young, old. I know I've spoken to a male therapist before. There's nothing wrong with it, ladies, okay? You can learn a lot from another perspective. That's one barrier. So just the obvious race. Now, the other thing would be the idea that you actually don't believe that your feelings matter. So that's an actual, it doesn't seem like a sophistication, but it actually is, that you can think to yourself, wow, I'm sad. And it matters to you that you're sad. And then, why am I sad? Why am I lingering in this sadness? Why am I angry? Why am I snapping at my children, even though I just came home from work? You know, like, that's a real thing. So for you to, one, acknowledge your own feelings is a big deal, especially if you came up in a home where your feelings were dismissed. So the barrier is initially, sorry.
I think somebody needs to mute themselves. New
it's
chapter,
okay.
please.
I know it happened to me when but see, even that, so that would be called a little ADD, ADHD, right? I totally have it. It's okay. So the idea of the shiny thing or the sound on the side, I can get distracted and then I have to learn to refocus. So that's a coping skill instead of going further and further away from why you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. So even the idea that you may negatively spiral when you're emotionally dysregulated, right? That means when something happens, a situation, some type of loss, that you become dysregulated and you spiral maybe negatively, and you're in a depressive hole and you need someone to help you out. So guess what? Another barrier could be pride. Asking for help. Amazing. We can't get the help if we don't ask for help. Right. And then if we don't acknowledge that we need help, you see how this goes into each other. So
it's just a circle, a vicious circle.
And and unfortunately, it will keep you staying home, dealing with it on your own, and not fully asking someone who has been trained to do this, who really loves to do this. I always say, I think I have the best job in the world because people that look like me, we weren't taught to do this. And I wanted to say one last thing in terms of the barrier is the lack of trust, right? So as a people, we do not trust very well. I know I've heard in a lot of West Indian homes, it was literally taught, you do not trust anyone outside of your family. That was taught to them at 0, from 0 to 18. And so now we're in, okay, Melissa gave a little amen. All right, I see you, Melissa. Okay, it's real. And so that's how you learn from 0 to 18 about the other, right? And then think about that. How are you going to have trusting romantic relationships? How are you going to have trusting platonic friendships if no one ever taught you to trust? They just taught you how not to trust. And so, I mean, the truth is, the mental health is that just to be open, that like, let's do some unlearning of what was normalized when we grew up.
So money is not a barrier. That's never, that didn't come in the top 4 that you have.
Oh, no, I'm not going to say that. There are people out here that have grants. Hey, drivebytherapy.org. I'm not specifically free, but I can get someone to you that has grants and internships, where interns can actually, talk to you, and you don't have to talk to an actual therapist or psychologist. You can talk to someone that is interning and out of school. And sometimes that is completely free. Or for your children, there are grants for your children, thinking that like, oh, wow, is it just me? No, it may be in your household. And we can also have a reduced rate. So everybody is not $300 an hour. I can say that. Sometimes we think, oh, wow, I can't afford a therapist. And you'd be surprised. There are sliding scales all the way down to like $50 and $65 for a lot of us effective therapists. I just wanted to put that out there. I'm glad you said that. So no, financial is not a barrier.
All right, great. Thank you, Dr. Tasha. Matthew, with you working for the 100 Black Men of South Florida, the Leadership Academy, what are some of the things that we can do on the community level to highlight the importance of mental health? Because you are working specifically with young Black boys, but you're also, working with their families every day. You're having to deal with whatever's going on in the household too. So how and what are some of the things we can do in the community to highlight the importance of mental health?
Thank you, Tamara. First, I do want to thank the City of Miami Gardens and the whole team behind this Live Healthy Miami Gardens and all the coalition of people to create this space, because this is part of the answer, is bringing the people together to help us think through this, to share resources and opportunities. And I'm just honored to be on this panel with people like Brother Ruban Roberts, been doing this for so many years, NAACP, Dr. Tasha that's putting in the work, and then my brother Antwon that actually put me in a documentary to highlight this issue. I was one of those kids that got PTSD from my experience with police. The first time I was had my life threatened was by police pointing a gun at me, and I was 13 years old. And recently, my mother was talking to people about being threatened by police. And she was like, oh my God, I hear a lot of young Black men have been threatened by police. And then she called up her 3 sons. And all 3 of us had a gun pulled on us before we reached the age of 18. So growing up, I never really saw myself past 18 because of the traumas that Ruban talked about in terms of what we experienced growing up. And it took that trauma, that PTSD that came me with anxiety and depression that to this day I've had to deal with. And it wasn't until I became the highest ranking official in my city as mayor for the city of Opelika and being over the police that I started to understand the different dynamics that go into that process. So one of the things that we do at the Leadership Academy, and I'm actually currently not the chair at the moment, I still have very close ties to the organization. I've been doing that since I came back home back in 2011 after going away for college. There's it's a complex thing when you are dealing with mental health, because it is all encompassing. It's parents, it's things going on at school, it's self-worth, it's understanding who you are. And the biggest problem when it comes to this idea of mental health is literally understanding who you are and being confident in how you're navigating the challenges that you have to go through as a person living this life. And many of the techniques that and I've had to go to therapy in the past, and I personally do personal therapy with yoga, meditation, and things of that nature that help to develop. But understanding who we are as a people, as a community, definitely is the foundation to helping us think through our place in this world. And then understanding how to effectively navigate this American society. The challenges of getting paid and making money that every single person on this call have to do and make can be overwhelming for our youth. And the change in their personality that they say you have to do to get a job or go for a good interview, that challenges their self-worth. So one of the things that we can all continue to do is to tell our stories. Like, number one, a lot of time these youth don't understand that we all go through these things, that we're all human. They look at us as, like, when I was in the 100 Black Men, I thought these was a bunch of bougie old men that didn't know nothing to do with my life and what I was going through as a young man. And that created a separation until they stepped in to save my life when I was facing felony charges in juvenile court. So them being able to share their experiences and stories and help me out, and bring me into their homes, tell me who they are, how they make their money, how they became powerful in this world, it opened my eyes to what I can be and what I can do, and led to the inspiration of everything that I do today in this world. So this is the answer, and I thank you for hosting this.
Yes, thank you very much, former Mayor Pigatt. and an amazing story there. Look, for the people who were just on, you just heard he said he was in trouble at 18, right? And facing felony charges. And look how he's, definitely changed and turned his life around, so it can happen for anyone. Before we go on, let me just ask everyone, if you do have a question for our mental health panel please put it in the chat and we will get to it as soon as possible. But I have to, address something that is the elephant in the room, because it's been in the news for the last couple of days, last couple of weeks, actually. And I talked about it even on my show today. We have a very famous musician who seems to be having a nervous breakdown every day on the air. And I see it. And I'm not even a mental health expert, Dr. Tasha, but and the rest of you, I'm sure you see it as well. Looks like he's spiraling out of control, and there is nothing you can do about it. Or at least it seems like there's nothing you can do about it. So, what do you do if it's a family member, or if it's someone that, you see it, you see what's happening, but it's like they haven't hurt themselves, they haven't done anything, but man, have they made asses of themselves in more ways than one. I'll let you answer that, Dr. Tasha.
Oh man.
Because I'm sure you have
so
seen
rough to watch. It's
right.
so rough to watch.
It's horrible, isn't it? Because you can, for people who think he's just being, himself, no, I can see that there's something mental going on. And why can't everybody else see it too?
Yeah, they can see it. Unfortunately, this is it's almost like the domino effect of like whatever 20 years ago when it was like what was it called when it was reality TV started? I forgot
Right.
that first one, of just the idea that everything doesn't have to be polished. So now we're at this place where in people's minds that he's keeping it real. The truth is he's sounding like the oppressor, and that's really what I've been talking about. I know that we have a mixed crowd tonight, which I think is a blessing. But the truth is this even was on, I saw on Sunday the Woman King, and that was actually like an actual quote or a phrase that she said is, at times you have to be very careful when you're so oppressed that you can actually start sounding like the oppressor. And the truth is, it's like, brother, for everything that you've made you've put forth a lot of work, and you have this platform. Don't you want to use it for something else other than this? And the truth is, I know in Los Angeles, where I just moved here from, and it was all publicity is good publicity. Unfortunately, in this publicity that is negative, yes, he is having an entire breakdown. Why not have somebody that literally can go to his home? And as I know, it was take a loved one to the doctor, but the doctor can actually make house calls these days, especially to celebrities. I would love to go to the front door for free. You asked me earlier about money being a barrier. Right. I don't want that coin. I just want to actually help. And so unfortunately, he has to get people around him that will not be yes men or women, and tell him different things, as we all have to tell our family members of, I'm really concerned. But the other half of it is he has to be receptive.
Mm-hmm. Sherry, can you put yourself on mute, please?
Yes,
thank you, Dr. Tasha.
Yeah.
I saw Matthew with your hand up. Matthew.
Yeah, I want to jump in on this, because one thing that I realized, like being married, you become like a mini celebrity. Everyone wants to be in your business. You're in the public, you're in the spotlight, and you start, when you get in those positions of power, people look at you for the position and not you as a human being. We all know people like Kanye in our families and in our communities that may say some crazy stuff, that may do things that are not right. We all know them. But nowadays, with this media attention, social media, those moments are being captured, and just those snippets are pushed out as a narrative to who a person is and a challenge. And it's very unfortunate, because we all go through things. We all have our moments, and he is having a moment right now. And we've seen that he's had these moments throughout his time. So it's not something that's uncommon, but he's having that moment. And we gotta give grace to people in those times, not feed into the narrative of the snippets. If we're interested in them, go ahead and be interested. And if we're not, let it be. Because he's just one individual that has created a platform, but he's human, just like each and every one of us. And we have to give that grace and understand that while, yes, hold people accountable, I completely understand that. And that's something we have to do is hold people accountable, but not feed into too much of what the media portray of someone, and really look at the holistic of the value that they are putting in this world.
Thank you very much. I saw Ruben's hand, and Antwon, I'll get to you if you would like to comment too. Go ahead, Ruben.
So I want to first say to you that let's be careful how we describe what this young man is experiencing. And I think that when we are viewed as Black men and Black women, we're so often conditioned to always have the mask on or always know how to code switch when you're with different audiences. This man has experienced a tremendous amount of trauma over the years. One, his accident that almost put his career in peril. The other, the loss of his mother. And then the other, the loss of his family and all that came with it, the public spectacle that comes with it. And the other part of it is he is definitely an entertainer. And with most entertainers on that level, there's some eccentricity, about them. But this man is dealing with all of these issues. He probably hasn't grieved properly. And some of you who are watching right now may have lost family members during COVID or lost family members during this pandemic or something recently, and you didn't even get a chance to see them, on their deathbed or that sort of thing. These things, they build up inside. And sometimes we mask them or we self-medicate, whatever your drug of choice is. And a drug doesn't have to be a drug that you use. It could be, you can do
the limelight, the media.
Yeah, right. Multiple relationships, whatever it is that feeds that need that you have. And so when we speak about this, I think we need to speak about it with care and concern, because what happens is there's someone else who's experiencing something similar and they hear it and we make fun like it's crazy, that sort of thing. That person is going to be reluctant to seek services. So no, this young man is having multiple issues and he's trying to navigate through it. He has seen professionals. He has gone into residential treatment for a brief period, and he does see someone, periodically, but it still does not address all of the issues that he has. And there's a diagnostic book that we use, the tools for clinicians. It's called the DSM-5. It used to be the DSM-4 when I studied in school. And I want everyone to know that's on this Zoom. In that diagnostic tool, I can find something to diagnose every single person who's watching right now. Okay? So we must understand that with mental illness, there are levels of severity. So there are sometimes people severely mentally ill. Some people are affected by situational things like the pandemic or by a divorce or that sort of thing. Just spoke with a person just recently where their child is saying that they want to commit suicide because their parents are divorcing. And that is something that this child is going through. We have parents who are dealing with issues where their kids are trying to, find themselves, and their behavior is something different than what the parent would really like for them to have. We have kids who were experiencing what Matthew said, Mayor Pigatt said, listen, we have all experienced some levels of trauma, and those trauma affects us from in the areas of our anxiety, depression, and levels of stress. If you ever had a gun pulled out on you by a police, and a lot of Black men have, when you see the police, there's a level of anxiety or stress that happens that most folks who don't have this issue don't understand, cannot relate to, have no idea what that experience is all about. So when we talk about these things, these traumatic experiences, and what you see in terms of how it plays out, I want us to do that with care and concern, And I know we do it with the intent of having care and concern, but be cautious because someone is listening who may be experiencing something very similar. And our words, if we're not careful, can be a deterrent from them seeking services.
Right. And we never want that. We definitely don't want that. It's just the fact that it seems like it's playing out and everybody sees it and there's nothing that people can do. As a matter of fact, Shaim asked the question, is it a possibility because of all the loss he has lost, it has become a catalyst for the breakdown? And you mentioned that, Ruben. Antwon, if you wanted to make a comment, I'll let you do that before I go to some more questions or comments.
No comment on Kanye.
Okay. Melissa says, what signs should we be looking for before it gets to a breaking point, and how can we help?
So if I may,
go ahead.
Things that you're looking for is isolation. When folks are self-isolating, they don't, if they are people that were more lively and they used to go out, if you see them with their windows drawn, the blinds drawn, the drapes drawn, or look at their eating habits. If you pay attention to what they're spending most of their time doing in terms of social media, are they looking at things that are more morbid and, more depressing and that sort of thing? So just watch the patterns of behavior that you see. And it's very key for each of you that are listening here to be good listeners. Be good listeners first, because the person will reveal, they'll open up they'll bring their guards down if they feel that you're not going to judge them. And be very cautious of what the person perceives to be judgment, because a lot of times we are actually showing care, but that person who's going through their episode may perceive it as us being judgmental.
Okay.
Can I also
go ahead, Dr. Tasha.
About as Ruben said articulated wonderfully well on the depressing side, but there's also the side of like being impulsive and having a lack of impulse control, as in spending a lot of money, driving really fast, like having all of these kind of racing thoughts and sharing them all. I've literally even seen where you can tell when someone does not have their own control of self, where back to what he did say about the eating, but there's like a binging way that they're eating, right? They're not sleeping. The isolation is a big one. And it's justifiable. So at times, I don't know if it sounds that you may be becoming judgmental, but I would like for you to see the change in behavior. So both extremes matter. I guess I just wanted to make sure that we can allow that. It's not just always depression. It can be actually on the mania side of it all.
Okay. Antwon, I wanted to ask you this question because before you did the documentary, you said you were studying for your doctorate. When did you realize that you had some mental health issues that you needed to deal with? Like, did this happen when you were 12 or did this happen in your 20s when you were in college? Because I think a lot of people you may not have known what to call it, maybe, when you finally realized what it was.
So for me, my perspective on mental health has shifted vastly over the last 2 years. I wouldn't say that it was mental health issues. I would say for me, it was some questions and challenges. Like she said, being compulsive and trying to understand how can I get my life to not be so compulsive. And this was back in 2015 when I was, a leader on campus when I was in college, doing a whole lot of different things and experiencing some of those other aspects of my life where I'm in college leading, doing all these good things, and then I'm back home, my friends and family are dying, and people are looking at me to continue to lead and all these different things. And I found myself just very overwhelmed and stressed and feeling it in my body, going to the doctor, there's nothing wrong with me. And then I just had to ask, like, there's something going on and I don't know what it is. And, a lot of times we say it's mental health, but I think it was my overall well-being. It wasn't just my mind. It was, am I actually exercising in the ways that I need to? Where is my time, energy, efforts going towards? And, I can't compartmentalize just my mental health because I'm one whole being. So I had to figure out, how do I align all of these different things to make sure that I'm able to be in the space where I can now have a lot of clarity and understanding about how I make certain decisions in my life to move forward and do the things that I need to do. And that's kind of what really pushed me into being able to say, you know what, if I do this doctorate degree, I'm just gonna have a title, and we get to live on earth maybe 60 to 90 years. Do I really care about a title? Or do I care about creating something that in 60 to 90 years, this thing will still be here long after I'm gone? And so that's kind of what I put my mindset in, because I just kind of, like I said, I think about things a little bit different. That's why I said no comment on Kanye, because I just feel like as humans, and we talk about media, we get drawn towards the drama because it's juicy, it's something to say. But what we do is we continue to disconnect ourselves from the very root of the thing that exists, is that we all come from the soil. When it's time to leave, we'll return back to the soil. And if we're not nurturing the earth, if we're not nurturing each other and being compassionate and understanding and truly having, compassion with one another, then we'll just continue that cycle. We'll continue that cycle of, putting a person down and going through this and going through that. And I'm in a space where Hush, Help Us Say Help, is a vehicle for us to be able to understand that, hey, everybody is going through something, and we're all trying to figure out the one thing that's in common, is how to be limitless, how to live our lives in such a way that everything that we think that is positive, comes into fruition, and that we can also pour, that into other people's, and we can see this world change into a very, very, welcoming space. And maybe this is answering the question, but that's just kind of where I'm at with being able to get this film to the community. I know some folks have asked about change and a lot of ways that we can be able to help. Once we get together and get rid of some of these concepts and ideas that continue to separate us, then we'll see just how much of the same that we really are. And yeah, that's where I'm at. It's the we and us that we have to take care of.
I love it. Well, I was going to say that wrapped it up very nicely. Thank you very much. I'm glad you mentioned too about working out and getting healthy, because we're going to be doing Let's Get Active coming up in just a little bit. Before we go, wanting to just wrap it up with some final words, we'll start with Dr. LaTasha Russell Harris to just give us a few words of wisdom to wrap this segment up.
I guess I'll very simply say, try your best to be honest with yourself so that you're able to be honest with others. I like to always coin the phrase and say that vulnerability is quite sexy.
Okay. Matthew.
I think it's important that we encourage people to really help realize the knowledge of self, which is understanding who we are as a people, as a community, as a person, our value in this world. Understanding who we are in this world is one of the very first barriers to really being able to stand on our own and recognizing the value within us, and making time to be dedicated to understanding how to make money in this world. Like getting the education, and brother Antwon, I say get that PhD, because it can open up some worlds of opportunities later on. We need to figure out how to make money in this world, because that process helps us realize our gifts, our passion, what we can do, and really lays a foundation for if we need help, we can go and take care. If we need to take a vacation, we can do that, but we really need to make sure we do that. And then lastly, getting involved and getting active. One of the ways I was able to get past my trauma was to get engaged and to realize that if what I do in this world matters, there are people that care because of the impact that I make. And that helped me to, because for my whole life, I've had like these suicidal thoughts. That's just something that it's just something that just happens. And it's crazy why it happens. But being able to know that I mean something, I'm worth something to others, to family and community, that keeps me stable and strong. So for anybody that's dealing with those challenges, really take the time to understand who you are. That's part of understanding your health and mindset. Make sure you're doing something that can generate some funds and things that you enjoy, and also get engaged and active and build a community around you, people who care about you and see and recognize your value in this world. And that really creates strong people, so that we can build a better community for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Antwon?
I would say just remember that your mind is a garden, right? You have positive and negative seeds, and the ones that you choose to water is what becomes your reality. And also think about other people's minds, that their mind also is like a garden. So if you have all of this negative, thoughts and these negative things going on in your mind, and you're pouring that into other people, then that's what it becomes. As long as we continue to really start pouring, and not say that you ignore the negative seeds, things come into your mind, but just be cautious and be, very, very, very compassionate about what you choose to water in your mind and other people's mind.
Okay, and last
Be
but not
limitless.
least, thank you. Limitless, be limitless. Ruben?
Just want to say to you that for those of you who may be feeling depressed, or maybe feeling anxious, or maybe feeling stressed out, I want you to know that you're not alone. And oftentimes you don't feel that way. You feel very lonely or isolated when you're going through these feelings, right? I want you to know that you're not alone, and that, there is a path to wellness. And, connect yourself with are doing to uplift themselves. Make sure you exercise. Make sure you monitor what you intake. When we get depressed, sometimes we do the food binging, as was mentioned earlier. We do certain things where we have more risky behavior, whatever that behavior is, but make sure you're aware of that. And last but not least, I want to encourage everybody that's listening to go to mymentalhealthmiami.com. And at the right-hand corner, there's a survey button. Take your survey. The survey will give you your results when you complete the survey on where you are as far as your stress levels, your depression, your anxiety, and levels of support. Once you
say
get
it one
that,
more time, Ruben, I'm sorry.
mymentalhealthmiami.com. And the survey button is on the top. And there are also resources there for you. So there's a resource page if you need to find a therapist or people who are providing certain services. If you're caring for the elderly and you're being stressed out about that, there's a resource page for that. There's some issues going on with your kids. And after you get your scorecard, I'm going to implore everyone to do this. If you would like to connect with some services, you can contact our care coordination team. And that is at 786-433-8487. Again, 786-433-8487. That care coordination team will do a mini assessment, and then they will refer you to the services. And most of our services that we refer people to are on a sliding scale fee. It's based on your income. But know that you're not alone. It's okay to take off the mask. And it is okay to speak to someone. Just know that. I really want to emphasize that. And I thank you all for the opportunity to share today and to be a part of such a distinguished panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ruban Roberts, Antwon Lindsey, Matthew Pigatt, and Dr. LaTasha Russell Harris. Thank you all so much.